Human interaction is shaped by emotional bonds, affinities, and antagonisms. Within this web of relationships, friendship is traditionally seen as a safe haven, a space of loyalty, understanding, and support. However, this romanticized view can conceal deep strategic risks. Blind trust placed in friends often masks vulnerabilities that, sooner or later, may turn against the one who trusts. On the other hand, the figure of the enemy, often rejected, can represent a unique opportunity for learning, strengthening, and even forming alliances more solid than those built within the comfort zone of friendship. Friends, by definition, share intimacy, privileged access, and emotionally charged coexistence. This closeness, though enjoyable, can create dangerous distortions in perception. Affection can become a lens that hides signs of envy, disguised competition, or accumulated resentment. Friends, being so close, observe our victories through less neutral eyes than we might think. And someone else's success, no matter how deserved, can awaken deep insecurities. The line between admiration and envy is thin, especially when one begins to stand out far beyond the other. Moreover, old friendships can deteriorate into relationships marked by expectations of loyalty that gradually turn into demands, and later into bitterness. The friend who helps today may unconsciously expect absolute allegiance in return. The slightest deviation from that expectation, the bond may break, and what was once support transforms into blame or betrayal. The betrayed friend feels morally entitled to retaliate. Thus, paradoxically, it is often those closest to us who deliver the most painful blows. In contrast, former enemies, when turned into allies, operate under a different logic. A conflicted past creates clear boundaries, where rules are more objective and mutual watchfulness is constant. Precisely because there are no illusions, this type of relationship tends to be more stable from a strategic point of view. A former enemy who becomes an ally knows they must prove their worth, show reliability, and demonstrate usefulness. Because they are under constant observation, they tend to be more cautious, less impulsive, and more focused on maintaining the new position they've earned. They work to preserve peace, knowing that distrust still lingers, which paradoxically makes them more trustworthy. Enemies also offer an irreplaceable value in self-knowledge and personal growth. They expose flaws that friends often avoid pointing out. They criticize or attack in ways that reveal vulnerabilities we may not have recognized ourselves. In responding to such attacks, we gain the opportunity to strengthen, improve, and protect ourselves. Presence of enemies acts as a constant test of our resilience, intelligence, and emotional maturity. To ignore enemies is to waste a valuable strategic resource. In some cases, it's better to keep them close, where they can be observed and eventually neutralized or even converted into collaborators. Tension with an enemy can be redirected toward the creation of something new, a partnership based on pragmatism, not illusion. This type of relationship, being calculated and explicit, can be more durable and less prone to surprise than those based solely on blind trust. Of course, this perspective requires a certain emotional detachment and strategic coldness. It's not about replacing friendship with opportunism, but about understanding that true loyalty is rare and cannot be assumed merely from emotional closeness. Strategic awareness must exist in all relationships, especially the most intimate ones. Lastly, one must consider an important principle. Having no enemies can be a sign of excessive neutrality, complacency, or lack of positioning. In a world where conflict is inevitable, trying to please everyone can result in perceived weakness. The existence of an enemy often reflects your strength. They arise because at some point you stood out, took a stand, or disrupted someone's interests. Having enemies is, in many cases, a natural consequence of being relevant. And knowing how to deal with them, leveraging their presence, turning them into allies, or using them as shields, is an art that few truly master. In summary, trusting friends too much is a way of abandoning prudence. Because of their proximity, they have more access, more information, and more hidden motives to betray. Enemies, on the other hand, when observed carefully and strategically incorporated, can become valuable pieces on the board of power. Instead of avoiding them, learn to recognize their usefulness. Sometimes it is precisely in the space that once seemed threatening where the greatest opportunity lies hidden.